No other way to slice it, folks. It was a tough weekend for Gamecock Nation as South Carolina suffered its largest defeat in the history of the USC-Georgia rivalry, falling to the Dogs 48-7. Joining me now to break all of that action down and take a look ahead is Locked On Gamecocks podcast host Andrew Lyon. Andrew, you've had a couple of days to process Saturday's loss now. Dogs outgained South Carolina 547 yards to 306. Your reaction to the loss?
Well, Chandler, it's quite simple, to be honest. This was a game where really nothing went right for South Carolina. South Carolina's offense, once again, continued to have issues being able to sustain long drives, giving a defense, which, by the way, didn't have 5 starters out there on Saturday, more of a rest. The defense subsequently was unable to get Georgia off of the field. Georgia obviously is known for having a ton of playmakers, obviously led by superstar tight end Brock Bowers. Offensive coordinator Todd Monken for the Bulldogs did a great job of utilizing his personnel, and they sort of kind of dinked and dunked and took their chances when they wanted to, and they just slowly but surely wore the Gamecocks out on defense, and everything just kind of snowballed to a point where the Gamecocks just never really had any grasp on this football game. And against a team that's as talented and well coached like Georgia, if you reach that sort of threshold, then things aren't going to end well for you. And that's why we saw this game end with a final score of 48-7 on Saturday.
You mentioned Brock Bowers, the man throwing him the football. Stetson Bennett, 284 yards, 3 touchdowns on the day Saturday. The man opposite Stetson, Spencer Rattler, the exact opposite, right? 2 interceptions, and he now has 5 interceptions on the year. That leaves the SEC. What do you think needs to change for Spencer to get going this season?
I just think that he's pressing way too much in these games. I think that he's trying to do way too much with his arm. Obviously, no one's going to argue that Spencer Rattler is one of the most talented quarterbacks in all of college football, but he's got to make better decisions. He has got to start trusting the rest of the guys on the field more. And of course, I'm not trying to make any big story about saying that he doesn't trust those guys, but it just sort of seems like that he sort of has a bit of hesitation in him. And when you are a quarterback of an SEC football program like South Carolina, you got to have a little bit of killer instinct in the sense that you feel like you got a good idea of what is going on the football field at all times. And it just seems like sometimes Spencer Rattler just doesn't have that going for him. Of course, this is a new offense that he's playing in, coming from an air raid offense in Oklahoma to a pro-style offense at South Carolina, which, to keep it simple, is vastly different in multiple aspects. So I think it's a combination of multiple things, along with the fact that this is a completely new group of players that he's playing with right now. So given some time, I think that Spencer Rattler can get more comfortable.
The next 2 games are a little bit easier for South Carolina, right? They got UNC Charlotte and then South Carolina State. So what are you hoping to see from this team over the next 2 weeks?
Well, Chandler, I'm really hoping to see South Carolina do the little things right. On defense, South Carolina's obviously got to tackle better. I believe that they have missed over 60 tackles collectively between both the Arkansas and Georgia games. Obviously, despite the opponents you faced, that is not good enough in that department. The Gamecock defense needs to get back to some fundamentals on that side of the ball. On offense, you need to work on your situational football better. We obviously have not done a good job so far on 3rd down, which again, in some of these bigger games like Kentucky, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Clemson, and others down the road, if you are not doing well in that department, that will come back to bite you at some point. So focus on the little things. Try to really get yourself into a flow. Find an identity on offense. Again, try to prioritize the running game more, build the passing game off of that, sort of get the guys' confidence up. And most importantly, you got to get healthy. This defense was losing or had lost 5 starters leading into the Georgia game. And there was multiple other guys that still played, but played banged up, having to leave the game at different points. So you've got to use these 2 weeks to sort of hit a reset button on both sides of the ball in different aspects. And most importantly, get this group healthy for the next really tough stretch on this schedule.